she had the discernment to know that the Lord was knocking at the door of my heart. And she asked me if I wanted to pray. And I'll never forget, I remember that specifically as the day that I realized, I believe this. I believe in Jesus, and I believe that he died for my sins, and I want to know him more.
Rewrite. New life, new beginning.
Hey, I'm Jonathan Unthank, and welcome to another edition of the Rewrite Podcast. We're digging deep into the stories of folks and how they came to know Jesus. Joining me today, my friend Matthew West. Dude, it is so good to see you and reconnect. What's going
Yeah.
on lately with you?
Oh, thanks, Jonathan. Good to be with you today, man. Just it's an exciting season. All things, family and music and traveling. And actually, the what's top of mind is right now I'm putting the finishing touches on a new book called "Don't Stop Praying." So my publisher's breathing down my neck, about to turn in that manuscript next week. So I tell you what, nothing will make you pray more than writing a book called "Don't Stop Praying." It's like, Lord help me. But life is good, man, and excited to spend some time with you today on your show.
Man, this is a pleasure and just an opportunity just to share with others who will be listening and watching. What's your story? That's what the Rewrite Podcast is all about, is how you came to faith in Jesus. And I know we share a common bond because both of our dads are in ministry.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah. I grew up in a Christian home. Mom and dad. My dad was actually the pastor at the same church for 38 years.
Wow.
So, and I grew up in the front row pew of that church, small community church in the suburbs of Chicago, Illinois. And when you're the preacher's kid, man, that comes with a pretty big job description too. If it snowed on a Saturday night, it was the preacher's kid out there putting salt on the sidewalk so the people coming in wouldn't slip. I was mowing the lawn. I was cleaning the church preschool, you name it. But I have really fond memories, Jonathan, of growing up in that church. It wasn't always easy being the preacher's kid. And I think sometimes when you grow up in a Christian home, some people who didn't grow up in a Christian home go, man, I wish I had that. But I tell you, I think a lot of times I sort of didn't think as much about my faith because it was just such a part of our lives. Like, I think it was kind of figured, like, I think I'm going to get to heaven because I'm in the family business. You know what I mean? And there comes a time, and there must come a time in every person's life where their faith becomes real to them. And they come to that age of deciding, like, do I believe this, or is this just what my family does and what my family believes? And so for me, it's so crazy because I know your involvement with the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association, the radio station, the light, and all that. I was a 13-year-old kid watching a Billy Graham crusade in the basement of my childhood home, and he was given an invitation for anybody in that stadium who wanted to know Jesus as their personal Lord and Savior to come forward. And little did he know that he was talking to a 13-year-old kid in Chicago. And that was the day that I asked Jesus into my heart. And my mom was doing laundry nearby. She saw me watching a preacher on TV, so she knew something was going on. And she had the discernment to know that the Lord was knocking at the door of my heart. And she asked me if I wanted to pray. And I'll never forget, I remember that specifically as the day that I realized, I believe this. I believe in Jesus, and I believe that he died for my sins, and I want to know him more on a personal level, not just in a family connection sort of way. And that was really the hour I first believed. And I like to think that it's not just one come to Jesus moment that we have throughout our lives, but there's going to be many more to come, and moments where we not only give our lives to Christ, but make a renewed commitment to Christ. So there's been many moments since then where I feel like God's gotten my attention, and I've made a renewed commitment to him. But when I think back on my childhood, that 13-year-old kid calling on the name of Jesus with Billy Graham in the background is a moment I'll never forget.
And you go back to that as that beginning spot. It was your faith. It became your own. And I know that is what comes across in your music as well, because you just write stories, basically. I mean, a lot of your music is just stories of personal experiences, and I know that experience has popped up a time or two in some of your writing.
Oh yeah, I love. My dad always said that the day you ask Jesus into your heart is a picture. It's a memory that you should hold in your heart, just like you keep a picture in your wallet. You know what I mean? Like that reminder of when you first said yes to Jesus, and coming back to that time and time again has been a powerful thing. So I'm glad to do this show with you today, knowing the theme of your show gives me an opportunity, because even in the retelling of that, I'm reminded that, man, Jesus pursued me and he found me in that moment, and that he's still with me today.
Do you remember? I'm going to throw back some trivia now. Okay. Do you even remember what the message was about?
Well, I remember, so Billy Graham, they always say this about evangelists, is like, traveling evangelists had like 3 sermons that they repeat over and over again. You know what I mean? But like Billy Graham, I don't think ever had a sermon where he didn't read John 3:16. And
Exactly. Yeah.
I remember he called John 3:16 25 wonderful words. He said, that, my friends, is the gospel in a nutshell. And I love the gospel in a nutshell in those words of John 3:16. And I remember George Beverly Shea, his booming singing voice, and the choir was singing Just As I Am. And those are some vivid memories. I remember sitting on a blue couch too. And that was a really special moment. I got to tell you something cool. Years later, we did a contest for fans, and they could enter a radio contest. And we picked winners that would travel to Chicago to hang out with me for the weekend. And I would take them to my like old stomping grounds, and we'd go downtown Chicago, and we visited my childhood church, and I did a concert for them in the sanctuary of my church. One of the things though we did was we visited my childhood home, and I didn't realize that my mom was going to do this at the time, but she had turned our home into a Matthew West museum. And Jonathan, man, it was the coolest thing, because we get down to the basement of my home, and we're taking these people who are like fans of my music into my house where I grew up. Like, they saw my childhood bedroom. But my mom had taken these velvet ropes that she borrowed from the local movie theater, and she put velvet ropes around the blue couch
Oh
and
my
put a sign,
goodness. Wow.
"This is where my son asked Jesus into his heart." It was the coolest moment, that it meant so much to my mom
Mm-hmm.
that she knew her son is a Jesus follower. And that was is a really special moment. I've never seen my life turned into a museum like that before.
The blue couch.
The blue couch, man.
She went all out. Well, you're exactly right. As you're talking about, um, we both have kids, and taking it from that vantage point of passing on your faith to them, and then them making that decision, that personal decision to follow Jesus as well. That's to me just as important as your own personal decision, that you've got
Oh,
something to pass on.
yeah. There's nothing you want more than to see, the people in your life who you're closest to know that same joy and freedom. I mean, my relationship with Christ has shaped my entire story, and it's rewritten my story, man. I mean, that's exactly what it's done. And so your desire as a parent now is to see that moment of awakening happen in the life of your own child. And so I love that. Even as I talk to you today, my daughter's on a missions trip telling people about Jesus. And one of the greatest joys of my life was my daughter was getting baptized at her youth group, and she asked if I would come and baptize her. And
Mm.
man, I wept like a baby, man, just like seeing that, because I know of all the things that she's going to pursue in her life, there is no pursuit more worthy than the pursuit of a relationship with Jesus. And so that's what a parent hopes for their kids too.
I often ask the question during the several of these rewrite podcasts: who is Jesus to you now? If you could give him a word, friend, father, protector, whatever, what's the first word that pops to your mind?
Oh man, I think the first word that pops into mind is the word dream.
Hmm.
And I guess maybe what I'm thinking about in this moment as you ask that question is just being amazed for about just being amazed to think about God's dream for my life, and God's plans, you know, that his dreams and plans are so much bigger and better than the ones that I come up with. And so just thinking about God's faithfulness in my life, and daring to dream new dreams, because I know that God has big dreams and plans for me. And so I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful that his plans have always been better. They've always been bigger. They've always been different than my own. And I think just even to this day, I'm just still learning how to surrender my own ambition and choose to follow that he's the ultimate dreamer, and that I'm following his dream for my life and not my own.
I was talking to my kids about that the other night. Was just the, every sunset is different, every sunrise is different, but it's the consistency of God every single day that He's creating something new every moment throughout the day. We just, we just have to get our heads up from the work aspect of things, and oh yeah, wow.
Yeah, that's
Like,
such a great illustration too, that reminder that the sun comes up tomorrow, and God is, his faithful love, his mercy never ceases, right? Lamentations 3:23, that reminder that the faithful love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies are new every morning. And so, I mean, gosh, where else in this world can you find that kind of level of faithfulness, that level of showing up? I mean, we try to show up for others. We hope people will show up for us, but we know who will always show up for us every single day of our lives, giving us what we need to take the next step.
dude, that's great. Thank you for taking time out today, just sharing your story and just hearing your heart, because that is one of the most amazing things, is digging deep into just the ability to encourage each other, but then just to go back. And I think it's important to go back sometimes, just to, you remember the blue couch, man,
I
the
tell you
blue
what,
couch.
man.
So those vivid memories of life
Yeah, I
change.
mean, the Bible talks about stones of remembrance, and we need to have that. I think the power of memory, of moments where, whether it's the moment you first come to know Jesus or the moments of God showing up in your life in the past, that's the stuff that gives us the faith to remember that He's going to continue to do so. And I think sometimes whenever your doubt starts to take over your faith, there are very few more powerful tools than looking over your shoulder. That's a powerful move you can make, looking behind you and seeing where God's brought you from and what he's delivered you out of and how he's provided for you. Won't he do it again? The answer is yes.
This is Rewrite, Stories of New Life in Jesus. I'm Jonathan Unthank. If you'd like to join a community of listeners who enjoy hearing the life stories of Christian music artists and influencers, then join the Rewrite text group by texting the word Rewrite, that's REWRITE, to 81891. But more importantly, if you'd like to dig deeper into your own relationship with Jesus, you can begin that journey today by texting his name, Jesus, to 81891. God bless you. Join me next time for another episode of Rewrite.